A new Supreme Court ruling may make it more difficult to deport some illegal immigrants. The High Court said the single word made all the difference between an immigrant staying or being sent back. Florida busy with legislation lately. The House of Representatives just passed two bills. One on election integrity, one fights back against big tech censorship. And what exactly is inside President Biden's multi-trillion-dollar The American Families Plan? Tune in to Deep Dive as we explore these topics and more. Hello and welcome. This is Deep Dive and I'm Tiffany Meier. Lawmakers fiercely opposed over the American Families Plan that Biden unveiled in his first big speech. What exactly is in it? But first, some updates. A new Supreme Court ruling raising some eyebrows. The question of whether an illegal immigrant could stay in the U.S. or be deported rested on the single word The Supreme Court has sided with an illegal immigrant who argued he shouldn't be deported because his official paperwork was incomplete. The Guatemalan national has misdemeanors for driving without a license. He entered the U.S. in 2005 and now has 3 young children who are all U.S. citizens. To avoid breaking up families, officials can cancel deportation if an immigrant has lived in the U.S. for 10 years. But there's a catch. The government can stop the clock by sending a notice to appear. That's under the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996. But now the ruling comes down to the word The immigrant argued he should be able to stay since the government sent multiple documents instead of one specific document with all the information. It seems the High Court agrees. Conservative justices were evenly split on the 6-3 vote. Justice Neil Gorsuch said, at one level, today's dispute may seem semantic, focused on a single word, a small one at that. But words are how the law constrains power. Justice Brett Kavanaugh disagreed. He says, I find the court's conclusion rather perplexing as a matter of statutory interpretation and common sense, adding the man did receive all the required information. Kavanaugh went on to say this interpretation spawns a litany of absurdities that will impose substantial costs and burdens on the immigration system. Speaking of the immigration system, the Department of Justice is ending Trump-era limits on grants to sanctuary cities. The 2017 policy had cut off hundreds of millions of dollars in funding to cities that didn't fully cooperate with U.S. immigration officers. Former Attorney General Jeff Sessions had said government funding was contingent on allowing authorities to ask about the immigration status of people in jail. States and cities have criticized the latest move. At the heart of the issue is the question on whether the Justice Department had the authority to condition the grants on immigration compliance. But the Biden administration told the Supreme Court to dismiss any pending cases concerning sanctuary cities. Now, President Biden's latest multi-trillion-dollar spending plan, the American Families Plan. What exactly is in it? Biden introduced his new $1.8 trillion American Families Plan during his address to Congress Wednesday night. It is Biden's second giant spending proposal within 1 month, following his $2 trillion infrastructure plan. His American Families Plan directs federal funds to ramp up social welfare programs. $534 billion are for free community college, pre-K, and to help families pay for child care. Under that, $200 billion goes to 4 more years of public education, taxpayer-funded 2 years of universal preschool for 3- and 4-year-olds. $109 billion goes to 2 years of community college. Students can do it over a 3-year period. This applies to Dreamers as well. In the White House statement, it says investing in education is a down payment on the future of America. The statement goes on to say 12 years is not enough today. Hence why, under this plan, there will now be universal preschool for 3- and 4-year-olds. Another $39 billion goes to historically black colleges and universities, tribal colleges and universities, and minority-serving institutions to provide 2 years of subsidized tuition for students coming from families that are earning less than $125,000 a year, who are enrolled in 4-year programs. Another $5 billion goes to expanding existing aid grants to those schools. And another $2 billion goes to building a pipeline of skilled healthcare workers with graduate degrees. $80 billion goes to increase Pell Grants for low-income college students. They would be increased by $1,400 to total $7,745, and access to the award would be expanded to Dreamers. $62 billion goes to strategies to strengthen completion and retention rates at community colleges, serving large numbers of low-income students. $225 billion for paid leave. That's over a decade. 12 weeks of paid parental, family, and personal illness or safe leave by year 10 of the program. Starting in year 1, workers get 3 days of bereavement leave per year. It would also provide workers a minimum of 2/3 of their average weekly wages, up to $4,000 a month. It would rise to 80% for the lowest wage cohort. Under child care reform, $225 billion invested in child care centers and providers. Participating employees will get $15 per hour minimum wage, and there's also a children's nutrition meal program. $45 billion goes towards expanding access to nutrition meals for children. That includes $25 billion to summer electronic benefit transfer program. It'll be expanded to all eligible children nationwide and be made permanent. The program also includes $17 billion to reimbursing a higher percentage of student meals through the Community Eligibility Provision Program, which includes $1 billion to reimburse schools that adopt a, quote, healthier nutrition standard. And it would get rid of barriers that prevent individuals convicted of a drug-related felony from getting Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program benefits. $9 billion goes to training teachers and boosting teacher diversity. And no set cost yet dedicated to unemployment insurance program. While the plan calls for tax cuts for low-income families, this is going to be paid for by taxing the wealthy, which are those making over $1 million a year. They'll have their taxes raised from 37 to 39.6%. The plan would also raise the capital gains tax rate from 20 to 39.6%. The White House fact sheets calls for making the wealthy pay what they owe. Biden plans to do that by giving more resources to the IRS to crack down on tax avoiders. Meanwhile, $200 billion goes to making Affordable Care Act premium tax credits permanent. It'll further extend the expanded child tax credit through 2025, make the earned income tax credit expansion permanent, and permanently increase the child and dependent care tax credit. Under that, families making less than $125,000 a year can get a 50% reimbursement. As for unemployment insurance, the plan calls to automatically adjust the length and amount of unemployment insurance benefits workers can receive, depending on economic conditions. So far, not many details on that. The administration says it will work with Congress on it. At the core of the multi-trillion-dollar proposal is Biden's belief that people should feel they are benefiting from government policies. But not everyone sees it that way. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy saying the president has adopted the radical left's agenda to control every aspect of your life. Republicans will work with anyone to build America up, but we can't tax and spend our way out of our problems. We will not stand by as he takes us down the path of socialism. McCarthy went on to accuse Biden of bait and switch for promising bipartisanship governing as a socialist. He said in a statement, President Biden abandoned his promise to govern with bipartisanship on day one and has committed to implementing a far-left socialist agenda. McCarthy said in the statement, this bait and switch hasn't gone unnoticed by the American public, with 60% recently reporting that they want Biden to stick to his promise of working with Republicans to get things done. That's in reference to a recent ABC Washington Post poll that found 60% of Americans said Biden should try to get Republican buy-in on his proposals by making major changes to them. And Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, meanwhile, ripped into Biden's plan. In his floor speech on Thursday, McConnell pushed back against what he called Biden's go-it-along radicalism. McConnell said the president talked about unity and togetherness while reading off a multi-trillion-dollar shopping list that was neither designed nor intended to earn bipartisan buy-in. He said a blueprint for giving Washington even more money and even more power to micromanage American families and build a country liberal elites want, instead of the future Americans want. And Senator Ted Cruz took to Twitter to call Biden's plans a radical vision for our country that would turn the American dream into an American nightmare. But it's not just Republicans pushing back. Democratic Senator Jon Tester said the goals are good, but he questioned whether the full amount is needed in light of the massive relief measures already adopted. According to Bloomberg, he said we have to look at how this interfaces with the previous packages and if there's overlap, if that overlap's been accounted for. And Senator Joe Manchin raised issue with the price tag, telling reporters on Wednesday the plan is a lot of money. That makes you very uncomfortable. He goes on to question how much more debt the country will be in, saying we are $28.2 trillion now in debt. There is a balance to be had, and we got to work that out. Manchin is seen as the key swing vote in the evenly split Senate. And among the harshest critics of Biden's newest spending plan, Senator Tim Scott, who gave the official GOP response after the joint session. Scott told Americans that success doesn't come from the government, but from the people. He says our best future will not come from Washington schemes or socialist dreams. It will come from you, the American people. We are not adversaries, we are family. We are all in this together, and we get to live in the greatest country on earth. Scott emphasized that the beauty of the American dream is that families get to define it for themselves. Now, before we end, let's turn briefly to the Sunshine State. Florida's House of Representatives just passed 2 Republican-backed bills. One focuses on election integrity. The other fights back against big tech censorship. The election integrity bill will require a stricter form of signature verification for voters and yearly requests for mail-in ballots. It also will require monitoring ballot drop boxes and put limitations on who can return a finished mail-in ballot. Florida Republicans say it will protect election security, while Democrats say it will suppress voters. The bill fighting big tech censorship was also met with resistance. Some Florida Democrats argue the bill is a political reaction to Trump's suspension from social media platforms. But Republicans said it's about protecting the speech of Floridians who face online censorship. GOP State Representative Tad Altman says if you vote against this bill, you're voting against freedom of speech. You're voting against equal protection. You're voting for censorship, adding we have evil people trying to silence our voice. The bill would fine companies $250,000 a day for doing so. Both bills have been amended and are now on the way back to the Senate for final votes. But what do you think? Let me know below. Thanks for tuning in to Deep Dive. I'm Tiffany Meier, and have a wonderful weekend.